Padromo. It's Tuesdays with Ted, and we've got another great guest. I meet so many great people in these different masterminds I'm in and all these different groups. So, Saba, want to introduce yourself? Tell us what you do.
Hey, Ted, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Well, I'm a direct response copywriter and marketing strategist, and I help people convert more casual leads into profitable and paying customers.
We met in Brian Kurtz's Titans Mastermind group, and you're a very active participant. I really enjoy all the information you share.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, how did you get started in copywriting?
Well, I started about 5 years ago. I worked at IBM before that. Had a typical boring corporate job. Got tired of it. Then I became a direct salesperson for a wealth management company, which I absolutely hated. But it gave me a lot of cool life lessons. And then after that, I started freelance copywriting. A few of my friends have been doing it. So I started working my way up. I started on Upwork, then I built a website for myself, then I created a YouTube channel, an email list, a lot of content. And last year, I even broke down 100 proven sales letters in 100 days. And now, actually, I'm in the middle of a 50-day proven email breakdown challenge.
I love that. The different copywriters you introduced me to with that. All those. It's interesting how the copywriting they did sometimes 100 years ago, the process still works today.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do you come up with different hooks? It's so busy, trying to get people's attention now. We're on our phones, our heads buried in our phone. And how do we get people to stop?
Yeah, in a sense, it's harder than ever. But in another sense, it's if you know the correct tools and techniques to use, then it becomes systematized. So one thing that people have to understand about hooks and about starting a sales message is that people fundamentally buy solutions to problems they want resolved to feel how they want to feel. So the strategic aim of your copy is basically to show your prospect that you have a different and a superior way to solve their problem, so they won't feel their pain anymore. And your hook has to relate to this pain point and has to also tease one of their biggest hopes or dreams or something like that. And based on their market sophistication and stages of awareness, which I don't know how familiar your audience is with Eugene Schwartz and breakthrough advertising.
I don't think a whole lot, but I've introduced a lot of this concept to them.
Okay, so they're probably somewhat familiar with it at this point. The idea here is that you have to meet people where they're at. If they haven't heard of your solution, or they don't even know that there's a solution to their specific problem, then it doesn't make sense to give them a direct pitch, because it's just not going to connect. So in that case, it's better to give them some sort of story, or to tease some sort of secret, like how to come up with the perfect hook. Or something like that. And in terms of market sophistication, you have to look at your competition and see how your competition does it and how many claims they've been exposed to before. Because they're jaded, especially in the most competitive niches. They're more jaded than ever. Like if you were to sell something like a weight loss product, you cannot make a claim anymore at this point, because just a simple claim or promise, because it's just gonna bounce off of people. You have to come up with a specific so-called unique mechanism, and you even have to do more advanced stuff with that unique mechanism. But I would say what works in most cases still is that, so my patented formula for coming up with a hook would basically be to discover their identity, their beliefs, their urgent problem, their wants and desires, their obstacles, and the core emotion that you're trying to target. And then just tease your solution as something different and superior, so that they actually want to invest some time reading or watching your sales message. So
yeah, like the weight loss. Everybody say, "Oh, yeah, I can lose 10 pounds in 2 days," and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and we've all heard it.
Absolutely. And once you understand these concepts, there's a great book called Great Leads. It was written by Michael Masterson, which is the pen name for Mark Ford. And this book, Great Leads, introduces 6 amazing lead types. And what I mean by lead types is basically ways to start a sales message. There's the offer lead, the promise lead, the problem solution lead, the big secret lead, the proclamation lead, and the story lead. So I definitely recommend people watching this to check out that book, because it will solve most of your problems on how to come up with a persuasive hook that is custom tailored to your specific situation.
Yeah. So the hook has to be, I love the unique mechanism. I've been really studying that for the last couple of years. Like P90X, the workout program was one of the ones that really resonates with me. The muscle confusion. Basically, you work out every day, you reach a plateau. And everybody that ever worked out said, oh, I've hit that plateau. And they say the way to get around that is muscle confusion. Basically, it's just doing a different workout every day. But it gets your attention, like, oh, something different I haven't tried.
Yes. But nowadays, it might not be enough to just do a simple, in weight loss, since it's a fourth or fifth level market sophistication market, you have to embellish on your unique mechanism, or you have to come up with a different type of whole different angle, like position it differently so that it identifies with the deeper emotional aspects of your target audience. So it doesn't talk about the product anymore. It just identifies with one of their core emotions or something. And story leads are really good at this, or sales letters that start up with like a really strong story.
Yeah. And you're not deceiving people. You're not tricking them. You're just telling a story that takes them where they want to go in their mind. And by the way, I have a solution for you. Yeah. There's so much hype out there now. It's like, oh my God. 10x, 100x. I can 100x your money in 3 days.
Yeah. One of my favorite copywriters, Gary Bensevenga, he once came up with the promotion in the 90s, 80s or 90s, probably 90s, called Get Rich Slowly. So even at that time, people were sick and tired of all the financial newsletter advice that were telling them to get rich quickly. And he realized that this is a fifth stage market sophistication market, and he came up with something totally unexpected. And then he positioned it as like, everyone else is telling you that you can get rich quickly, but they're selling you snake oil. So this is how to actually get rich. Maybe not overnight, but guaranteed in the long term. It's the same thing that we have with like index funds and a lot of actively managed mutual funds, or crypto or NFTs.
Right. Yeah, I teach with LinkedIn. Build relationships, don't sell. It's a long road. It takes time, but you get great clients, you get repeat business, you get referrals. Or you can go for one sale and be real aggressive with people, which is what most people try to do on LinkedIn. We're all so sick of those messages.
Also on email, like so many people burn their audience list by sending them hypey promotional emails only. Yeah.
I see a lot of my friends are still trying that. They're just getting started in this. Like, no, don't do that to people. They won't fall for it. 10 years ago, people fell for that, but they're more sophisticated.
Oh, absolutely.
And the whole thing you said about where they are in the buying process, like what are their knowledge of the market? If you're looking for a new car, what kind of car do you want? You got to kind of see where they're at, how much research they've done on their own, and then meet them there and guide them to your solution.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the other things you're seeing? Like copywriting is getting more popular now, it seems like. I see a lot of copywriters now teaching you how to build a copywriting business rather than teaching you copy.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's very apparent nowadays, and I also have a list, not that big, it's like 2,000 people on my email list. My YouTube channel is like 8,000. But what I'm seeing all the time is that people still are looking for the magic pill, for the one template or the one formula that works in every single situation. You don't need any creativity for it. You don't need to do any research. You just fill in the blanks, and then magically you have a high converting sales page because you learned, because some guru or A-level copywriter told you that, yes, use this formula. And a lot of people misunderstand this because the high-level copywriters all know that every single promotion is different. Every single marketing campaign is different. Sure, you have some templates and structures, but it's just a starting point. And based on your research, based on a lot of other stuff, you will come up with something that might end up looking radically different. And I love how David Deutsch, a high-level A-list copywriter, approaches this. He talks about copy thinking instead of copywriting. So don't try to emulate all the other high-level copywriters. That's what he says, because then you're going to sound like a marketer or copywriter. Instead, just talk to people, just meet them where they're at, just try to have a conversation with them. Gary Halbert, another legendary copywriter, was big on like having a bar conversation with someone in a Friday evening somewhere and just talking to them. Would you tell someone face to face in a situation a hypey message? Probably not. They would be like, "Who the F are you? Get the hell out of my way," or something. So that's why, when I open up a lot of sales pages and they're those typical screaming ClickFunnels type sales pages with like tons of bolded, every second word is bolded and underlined and like big fonts and everything. I'm just like, probably the person whose product this is, they hired a copywriter. This seems like great copy because it like, wow, it makes the big promise and it has like the do this even if you aren't this or something. It has the formulas, but it doesn't work because people can see through it. They're sick and tired of it.
I've tried those templates years ago and they never worked for me. And it really I learned from John Carlton and many other copywriters is you got to find your own voice.
Yes.
Like we're talking right now. We're not trying to sell each other anything. We're not hyping anything. We're going to have a conversation.
Yes. And it's really interesting, because I broke down these 100 proven ads in 100 days, and I've seen so many different ways to pitch something from all the greatest copywriters. Like I also broke down like 3 or 4 John Carlton letters, like the One-Legged Golfer and the Free Gun and some other like more adult-themed ads as well. And they were all great and everything, but John Carlton, I think, is called the most ripped off copywriter of all time because his headlines and his style is very punchy. And a lot of people just take it and try to use it like for themselves, but it doesn't work because you have to also look at the bigger picture. And you also have to look at when those ads were published in the 90s or 80s, where everything was much more hyped up and people couldn't just Google something immediately and read dozens of Amazon reviews about something. Yeah. They weren't informed.
Right. The psychological aspect of it is engaging them and leading them is still there, but
yeah,
you got to adapt to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something written in 1950 isn't going to resonate.
Yeah, I mean, the core emotion might. It's interesting because I once read an ad from the Civil War, actually, and it was selling some sort of invest in real estate, basically. And it was the same thing, like what you see nowadays, maybe even better in some cases, because it was more clear. Because back then, it's also one of the reasons why I started breaking down the great old copywriters, is because back in those days, direct mail and newspaper ads and space ads, you didn't have the luxury of bloating your copy with tons of extra words. Every single word had to count.
Yeah.
But the same types of hooks worked in those days, just because we don't change as people fundamentally. That's why you have to discover the core emotions that people are feeling.
Yeah, and they're going to know, like, and trust you before they're going to give you money.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of refund rate requests.
Yeah,
they fall for that hype. Yeah, I love the way you're a student of copywriting. You're not just a copywriter. I see the best copywriters I know are like you. They're always learning about how the best sales letters, why it works, the psychology behind it. You're always learning and teaching us. That's what I appreciate about you.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling us. Well, yeah, it is what it is. Like, it's interesting though, because copywriting is a very unique career. Because you can be the best copywriter in the world, yet your campaign might still bomb. And this is very annoying. Because if you're, let's say, a really good art engineer or someone who builds stuff that you can like touch and everything, you can And if you're really good at it, like let's say you're a Japanese swordsman who like creates swords and everything. You're a blacksmith, I think it's called. If you know your craft, you can create like amazing quality swords, and they're going to be amazing quality swords every single time. But in copy, like Gary Bensavenga, who was the best copywriter of our generation, even he only had like an 80% hit rate on his promotions, and that was like super high.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are a lot of hidden variables that nobody can account for.
Yeah, you just never know, but you're not going to hit 100%. No way.
Yeah. But that's why
you're an
you
engineer
test.
and you build bridges. You want to be 100%.
Yes. So it's annoying, and that's why that's my point. Basically, that's why you have to be a lifelong student of this craft, because you're never gonna get to the point where you're 100% efficient or effective.
Yeah.
And it's like understanding how people make decisions and how they work is super complicated. Like I have an MBA degree and I have a bachelor in psychology, and my wife is a therapist. So we talk a lot about psychology related stuff, but even so, I still feel like after all this time writing copy for, I don't know, like 100 clients or something at this point, and writing tons of copy for my own stuff and doing dozens and dozens and dozens of online courses and reading tons of books, I still feel like I'm getting the hang of it. So I'm still not completely confident in my abilities.
It's kind of like golf. You never master golf where you're like, go out there and hit it really well every shot.
Yeah. Because there, even like a very small mistake that you make will have huge consequences on where the ball goes.
Better, you could write a great sales copy, but if they see it at the wrong time in the process,
exactly,
it's not going to click with them. So that's
exactly.
So when did you get into Eugene Schwartz's books? How long have you been studying those?
Well, I think I read it first in 2017 or something. It was one of my first books. Everybody was recommending it, but I understand why. Like it is the best copywriting book even to this day, even though it was written in the 60s. There are a lot of other great copywriting books out there. Sometimes they're not positioned as copywriting books, by the way. But it was a total game changer. Like I studied business, I've studied cognitive psychology, but when I got involved in the world of direct response, I was like, how come nobody's ever told me this before? Like this is a secret society, like seriously.
Yeah.
All these things like I never knew existed. I always thought about marketing, like most people think like branding and like creating slogans that sounds cool, but it's far from that.
There's a lot of people teaching all of this, the marketing and the psychology and the copywriting, but very few people go as deep as the group we hang out with in the Titans Accelerator.
Yeah.
They're the real students that actually implement it, and they really test it and figure out, okay, why did this work and why didn't this work? Rather than, here's a bunch of templates. I could sell you 20 templates and make a lot of money, but those templates wouldn't make you any money probably.
Being a good copywriter is like being a scientist. And it's kind of like a PhD in a sense, because you have to come up with hypotheses, you have to test it, you have to respect the data that a lot of people don't do. And it's so easy to get way too emotional about your writing. You come up with this 30-page sales page, and then it just doesn't work. And you find it hard to massacre your own child. It almost feels like that, but sometimes you got to do it.
Right. No, it's a good thing to learn. I'm really getting into it more and more. I'm not a copywriter, but I use a lot of the principles in getting clients on LinkedIn. Kind of meet them where they're at, start a conversation, engage them, and don't be like all the other competitors. Be different.
I think you're a really good copywriter, by the way, because your marketing, I haven't checked out most of your marketing, but the ones that I've seen, they hit the right, like they appeal to the right person at the right time. And the reason why they seem good is because it doesn't sound like copy. It sounds like normal conversations. And that's the key in really high level copy. Like that's why you want to write at a third or fourth grade level. because, and it's really hard to write like that. Speaking is a little bit easier. And that's why even like John Carlton suggests that a very easy way to create a sales letter is to record yourself giving a sales presentation to someone and then edit that, because it flows better. If you sit down to write, you enter into this writing mode and you start formulating sentences differently. You start to overcomplicate things and sound like a robot, which people can, like, they can feel it.
That's what I have my clients when I start working with them. I have them read their LinkedIn profile out loud to me. And the LinkedIn messages they send, I said, would you actually say that if we were standing face to face and we just met?
That's smart.
They're like, no, why would I say that to anyone? Like, well, why did you type it?
Yeah.
How are they
People
going
think
to
that, people think that you have to like sound smart. You know, the same thing that a lot of professional business people think that they have to sound smart and professional and talk like some really high level PhD or something. But in reality, even if your audience is made up of PhDs exclusively, it's still better to give them a simple, easy to understand message, because they just don't have time to decipher or think about it. Or if it's confusing, they're going to be like, yeah, I have 10 other things to do.
Well, if you're not a PhD and you're trying to speak PhD language, that's really going to miss the mark, probably.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad in a way that we have to talk to the 3rd or 4th grade level to get through to a lot of people, but everybody's skimming now too. We don't read anymore unless something gets our attention. So any other tips you have for anybody? And I know that the 100, when you did that whole secret recipe, I really enjoyed that, going through those. Thank you for that.
Thank you for checking it out. You know, one other thing, like I discovered a lot of things, but one of the key things that I've seen every single copywriter use is some sort of story or some sort of marketing argument that, so most sales messages, I don't care if you're writing a sales, like a sales page or Facebook ad or LinkedIn or something, it has to have some sort of hook. It has to have some sort of argument. Let's just call it marketing argument. And then it has to have some sort of next step or call to action. And how you do that marketing argument, that's an art of itself, because you can approach it with like story, like purely like how Chris Haddad uses this. He's a copywriter who's very who has a very distinctive voice. He writes very emotional, punch in the gut stories. Or you can do it like the people from Agora Financial, who basically just overwhelm you with a lot of proof elements and charts and like come up with a claim and like, you know, proof everywhere. But this marketing argument, what you ultimately want to do with this, with the body of your whole copy, is to, and Mark Ford and Todd Brown calls this the one belief. Like you want to establish a one true belief, because if without establishing this, it doesn't make sense to sell them directly on something. But if you establish this one belief, that clearly shows that basically makes people feel hopeful again, that yes, finally there is something that's different and superior compared to anything I've tried before. When they believe this, that's the time when you can give them your pitch. That's like, hey, by the way, I created the perfect solution for you because, and you give reason why you did that.
Yeah, when I first started this years ago, they talked about the fictitious character. Create your fictitious character and write from that perspective. I'm like, it never worked. When I just started being myself and writing from my perspective, I connect with people that want to do business with me. It's so much easier.
Yeah. And this also connects to the idea of education-based selling. It still works really well. I think it's having a renaissance now, because again, Gary Bencivenga was one of the pioneers of education-based selling. But then later on, like most magalogs from Boardroom, they also use tons of education and tons of fascinations and stuff. But it was educative. Also the bookalogs, Jim Rutz, for example, he had the great promotion called Read This or Die. And it was basically a 70-page book about all the ways certain cultures eradicated certain diseases. So 70-80% of the sales letter is just like interesting reading, and that's what works nowadays as well. But people use it differently nowadays. They come up with mini documentaries, or like I saw something, a promotion like this in the crypto niche. It was a pretty big affiliate promotion maybe 2 months ago or something. I think it was called the system or the plan or something. And the marketers who created this pitched it as like a documentary, and like it's still a sales letter. It's still a video, like a long form video sales letter, but it was educative, just like a documentary. And by positioning it like this, it doesn't trigger typical sales resistance.
Yeah.
Todd Brown used something called the simple selling saga, for example. So it was basically like a dialogue-driven story of how he went to the Agora headquarters and how he talked to Joe Schriefer, like the boss at Agora, and how they talked about, copy stuff and how to create. And the end of this like 7 or 8 part message was that we put everything together into this unique course called the Agora Financial System. But by that time, people were bought on the one belief.
Yeah.
So and in fact, I think Todd somewhere mentioned that when this campaign went live, he got like, I don't know, 50 or something orders. And we're talking about like a $2,000 course in the first 5 minutes. And the sales page wasn't even optimized because people were already pre-sold on the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to pre-sell, tell stories, be yourself, engage people. And then like, oh yeah, by the way, if you want to learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. This works really well nowadays. And our mentor, like Brian Kurtz, also does this in his emails, like gives away. I mean, he's the over-deliver guy, but he gives a lot of content and value in his emails. And in the PS, by the way, if you need like specific help with it, or you want to join us, the cool kids, then you should join Titan's Accelerator.
It's true. His Sunday emails are like a whole lesson in marketing of 40 years of experience.
Yeah.
You learn so much from reading just one email a week from him. It's like, of course, we want to be part of his tribe. It's great. Okay, how can people get in touch with you to learn more? Because you got so much information to share.
Yeah, maybe too much at this point, but
no,
you can go to. So I have a YouTube channel. We probably do. Are we going to have links under this?
Yeah, I'll put them in the comments.
Yeah, so there's a YouTube channel, Game of Conversions, where you can check out all the videos, the 100 proven sales letter breakdown videos, as well as the upcoming 50-day proven email breakdown videos. So focusing entirely on emails. Like I just broke down a cool welcome sequence from Nerd Fitness, a really cool welcome email. But even better, like I know that this is a lot of content. So that's why I created something I call the secret copy recipe, which basically distills the best lessons and insights I've learned throughout this crazy journey and puts it into a neat little package that includes like the ultimate persuasive message template that you can use to come up with any type of ad that you want, Facebook ad, YouTube ad, sales page, and also a cool little checklist that diagnoses problems in your copy. So you can get that on my website, gameofconversions.com. So like Game of Thrones, but gameofconversions.com/copywriting dash secrets. So gameofconversions.com/copywriting dash secrets. So that's how you can get the cheat sheet, the secret recipe behind the 100 most profitable ads of all time. And you're also going to get all the videos dripped out to you in a more convenient way. Because I realize it's a lot of content for people right off the bat. It's like 100 hours at this point.
It's a lot of great content, and people would pay a lot of money for that kind of content.
Yeah, that's true. But again, based on our mentor's advice, and partially on my own thinking, I wanted to still leave it on YouTube because it's evergreen content, and I also learned so much going through this challenge. So
yeah, I do the same thing. I put a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel that other people pay for in my courses.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of giving away 80% or 90% of your stuff, because people are still going to pay for the remaining 10 or 20%, or they just need some help implementing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much as well.
And we'll see you on the Thursday call with Brian.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool.
Thanks again,
Well,
Ted.
thanks.